And so a lot of those like jump kicks, I was on the harness and wires. It was awesome. I think I threw my back out. Hello, I'm Elijah Wood, and today we are going to be watching a few scenes from projects over the course of my career. Let's have a look.
You begin to understand. There is no going back. There are some things that time cannot mend. Some hurts that go too deep, that have taken hold.
Wow. All of the movies were shot simultaneously, all three films. The last thing I shot for principal photography, if I'm not mistaken, is that scene. He's finishing the book that his uncle had started, and then gives it to Sam. So this sort of symbolism of the scene, of me sitting at that desk, finishing those final pages before I give it away, is effectively Frodo finishing his work in Middle-earth before he sails away to the Grey Havens. It was highly emotional. We were coming to the end of our journey. At that point, we didn't know that we'd be coming back to New Zealand for additional shooting. That came later. So for all we knew, this really was the end of this extraordinary journey that we'd all taken together. And we could feel it. It was palpable. And the symbolism of that scene being the last for Frodo was really something. It was highly charged. The letting go of the character didn't really happen until after Return of the King was released, because we would continue to go back to New Zealand. So that was just like this extended process, not unlike the extended endings of The Lord of the Rings, where we were saying goodbye over the course of many years, really. And then there was the kind of very fortunate scenario of getting invited to go to the Oscars, and the film had been nominated for so many Oscars and had won them all. That was sort of this extraordinary family reunion, unbelievable, victory lap. It's always strange to end a film. You are in a microcosm for whatever period of time that is, be it 6 weeks to 6 months, in this case 16. It's always a funny adjustment to come back to your life, because your life is the world of the film. It's quite insular, and especially if it's on location. If you're not going home to your own home at night, you're in another universe. So that transition, coming back from New Zealand to LA, and then not quite knowing what I was gonna do next, was really strange.
Come on, you son of a bitch.
Damn, he's slick.
We filmed all of Kevin's scenes in 2 days. The thing about Sin City is it was entirely shot on a soundstage, all against green screen. I think there were only a few sets that were actually built. Everything else was laid in post-production. When I went to Austin to shoot over the course of those 2 days, Mickey Rourke had already shot out his entire Marv character. It was done. So I was only working with his stunt double at that stage. Just prior to getting there, if I remember correctly, they were like, "Have you ever done any wire work before?" And I hadn't, but I was super game. And so a lot of those like jump kicks, I was on the harness and wires. It was awesome. I think I threw my back out. And I was in a little bit of pain by the end of the last day.
Is that the best you can do, creep?
That's right, get personal, get close, I can take it.
I got you, you little bastard. Let's see you hop around now.
I was a huge, huge fan of the graphic novel. I knew Robert from The Faculty, so I've known him for a number of years. We went to dinner, myself and a mutual friend of ours, George Wang. I think I had just read through all of the graphic novels, and I may have been talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's funny. My next project's gonna be Sin City." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was like, "In fact, I've shot the intro of the movie already as a proof of concept. Do you wanna see it?" And we went out to the parking lot, and he had on his laptop that opening scene with Josh Hartnett finished. And it blew my mind, because I thought there's no way anybody can make this. It's so specific to, it really, animation feels like the only way that you could bring this to life. And he proved that you could do this live action in a way that was really honoring the way that Frank Miller had drawn these characters and created this world. I ended up auditioning for it. My audition was literally sitting in front of a camera like this, staring straight at the camera, because Kevin doesn't talk. And Robert read passages from the graphic novel in reference to the character, and that was my audition. But it was a lot of fun. It was fun to play a character that was so dark, so twisted. I mean, he's a cannibal.
I try to slow my heart down and breathe the fire out of my lungs. My muscles make me 1,000 promises of pain to come.
The comic, the graphic novel, was essentially the storyboard. So we were shooting each panel of the storyboard, which made our work as actors kind of easy. Most films, you know, you're getting like a wide shot, right? A master, and then you're doing close-ups. We weren't covering it in that traditional sense. We were covering it as Frank had laid out within the context of the graphic novel. Stop!
Ryan, I know your type. You're a good boy. You come when you're called. You don't rub your ass on the carpet. Aren't you tired of doing what everyone else wants you to do?
Oh my God. Wow. I have so much love for Wilfred. I fell in love with this material instantly. It was based on Jason Gann, actually, is the creator of the character. He initially made a short film. He then subsequently turned it into a series. I think they did 2 seasons in Australia. So I had that material to sort of look at and reference in regards to this adaptation of where this came from, and fell in love with it. I mean, just the idea that it's like Calvin and Hobbes, it's like Harvey with Jimmy Stewart. This idea that there's a guy that sees a guy dressed as a dog, but nobody else sees him, is just so weird and so wonderful and rife for a lot of comedy, but also sort of mining depths of, you know, mental health and what's really going on with Ryan.
Maybe it's time you quit playing ball with them and just play ball with me.
Where'd that come from?
Just give it a toss.
I don't think I should.
I love that this gave me the opportunity to work on a comedy, to work on a TV show that really pushed the boundaries of what is normal. It was so effing weird most of the time. Every episode ended with the two of them getting stoned in his basement, and God knows if it was a real dog or not. Like, what the hell is actually happening? I love this clip, and I love the experience that this show gave me. I was living in Venice at the time. A lot of it was shot in Venice. The pilot was entirely shot in Venice, and then we ended up shooting most of it on the West Side and at the Fox lot. It was like in my universe. Occasionally I could ride my bike to work. It was just joyful. It was really fun, and fun to work on something so weird. It was hard to let it go. After 4 years, we were like, we still loved it. We still loved the characters.
I found him.
What's his name?
His name is Flipper.
This is so reflective of a really fun experience. I'd never been to the Bahamas before. I think we shot maybe in the spring. I don't know if it was in the summer. But, you know, to have this sort of tropical experience working on this movie with live dolphins and getting to go to the Bahamas early to work with the dolphins and swim with them was a huge deciding factor in regards to participating in the movie, honestly. I was like, I want to go work with dolphins and swim with them and work with Paul Hogan. Crocodile Dundee was pretty rad. It's amazing to see. I mean, I was a kid. It's funny, the band t-shirts that the character wears, I had something to do with some of them. I wasn't a Soul Asylum fan necessarily, but I was a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. And I remember asking specifically for Smashing Pumpkins t-shirts, and he wears a few of them in the movie. So that was my contribution.
I've never seen one alone like this. They're usually with their families. Alone, he'd be no match for Scar.
Who's Scar?
We used a lot of real dolphins. There were some animatronic dolphins, and I think in the very first shot, which is that sort of wide establishing with the dolphin in the foreground, I believe that was an animatronic, and when it flips around, it was obviously the real dolphin. Anytime you see it move like that, it's a real dolphin. But we had some really incredible animatronics that looked very real. This was a blast. It was like a sort of summer vacation experience making the film. First time scuba diving, I was probably 15, I think, 14 or 15. So for me to have that experience at that age was really awesome.
Patrick? Do you have any idea how unethical?
It's not really bad. I mean, what? Get that look off your face. What's wrong?
Patrick, you stole a girl's panties.
So this particular scene, it's funny, like that laugh at the end. I remember Michel would come in and some of his direction would be to sort of completely avoid the script entirely. So that laugh, I believe, came from a take where all we did was laugh and just kind of like throw the whole thing and like explode the whole scene and mess around with the dialogue and not worry about where we were headed. The beautiful thing of what he did is kind of combine elements of varying takes with really different approaches. Working with Michel was an absolute gift.
Mary hates me. Never really had much luck with the ladies.
Maybe if we stop stealing their panties.
I remember when my agent at the time called me and said that there was a Charlie Kaufman script that Michel Gondry's going to direct. I remember very vividly I was on the freeway and I nearly pulled over because I was so, like those two elements. In some ways, I almost didn't have to read the script. I was fucking in, like whatever you want me to do. And then I read the script and I think it surprised me. I found it incredibly emotional. This character who makes this really intense decision to like get rid of a relationship, which is something that I think all of us have probably felt at one stage. Like, can I just erase that experience, that heartache, that pain, that, you know, from my life? But then to explore what the consequences of that are, both from a comedic standpoint, but also from a really vulnerable emotional one, as someone's like having it being erased and realizing that he doesn't want it to happen because he wants to hold on to those things because they are precious. It was just such a brilliant concept. It was really, really fun.
I found it in my Bartlett's.
What's your Bartlett's?
It's a quote book, Patrick. It's a book of quotation.
And it's interesting, actually, the script, the chronology of events within the context of the script differ from the way it was edited. So the editing, just in terms of where things exist in time and on a timeline, shifted and morphed. And I'd love to read the script again, actually. It's been so long to remember where things were on a timeline. It wasn't that it was entirely linear, but I feel like it was slightly more linear than what the film ended up being, which is a real kind of bouncing back and forth in time and space.
Patrick, can we get through this?
Patrick.
Patrick, it's you.
It's so funny, this thing of like, I think we're well past this, but this idea that, you know, comedians jumping into dramatic roles as if that's such an insane idea. I think previously he had done The Truman Show, which certainly is more of a dramatic role. But this character was quite different from anything he'd played. And I remember him really acknowledging that and talking about it and being in a kind of vulnerable emotional state a lot of the time, which was really incredible to watch. As a fan of Jim's work, I've always admired what he does as a comedian, and he's really kind of in a class all of his own. To see him work in that way and really kind of get himself into a space that no one had ever really seen before was a joy to watch. Couple things that come to mind immediately. I had never ridden a motorcycle before. When I got the role in that pre-production time, really to get ready for this sequence when my character's riding this motorcycle, I didn't have a driver's license either. So I had to get my driver's license, go to driver's ed, learn how to drive, take that course, get my license, and then also simultaneously get my motorcycle license. So I went out with the stunt team and I learned how to ride a motorcycle through that team for this film. It just goes to show, like, sometimes the things that you have to do for a film are also to incorporate new skills. And in this case, put a fire under my ass to get my driver's license, which was great, I was stoked, and I learned how to ride a motorcycle.
I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon.
Get out of here, Leo. Go to high ground.
The movie is about what all these characters are gonna do with the time that remains and how that reflects on who they are, the life that they've led so far, and what they're gonna do now that there's only so much time left. In this case, our characters who are maybe in love or dating, it accelerates that process for them where they're like, well, let's get married. Let's do all these things before this happens, you know? So they're in this really kind of heightened, accelerated romance by virtue of the circumstances that they can't control, which I just thought was really interesting. And for two teenagers, and as a teen myself, it was such an interesting opportunity to play something out like that. I really appreciated the sort of the emotional reasoning behind it, rather than the film just being about a spectacle. And to work on one of the two asteroid nearly hitting the planet movies that came out kind of close to each other. This Deep Impact and Armageddon were kind of neck and neck. So to make this kind of big universal kind of spectacle movie with a core heart just felt so fun. It was really fun. Oh, this is from the new season, okay. I haven't seen this yet.
Okay, what the?
Hello, Shauna.
Walter?
It appears my cover is blown.
Yeah, you literally hit my car.
Oh my God. Walter. This scene's really fun for a couple of reasons. Melanie Lynskey is a dear friend. I adore her. I've been a fan of hers for a super long time. We have gotten to work together a couple of times, 3 times now. Initially on Over the Garden Wall, and then in a movie called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. And the fun thing about that film is it involved my character and her character sort of teaming up to sort of be detectives to solve a problem that she has. The fun thing about this scene is that it sort of brings us back to the dynamics of those characters a little bit, like tasting a little of the fun that we had on that film with a slightly similar dynamic, which was really cool to play out again. And just to work with her, because Walter, in the first season that I worked on the show, season 2, we didn't have any scenes really together. And so we were really hopeful that eventually we would have something to do together, and we got that this season, which was great.
I admit I was probably too aggressive. Tailing is a lesser used skill of mine.
Why are you doing it now?
And just, to see Walter take himself so seriously as a citizen detective and think that he's got such sort of skill and swagger is really funny. He is such an oddball. I love him so much. I'm so grateful to the creators for asking me to be a part of this. It's really funny. When I first met Bart and Ashley, they pitched me the character and a sense of where they thought the character was going to go in the first season, but they had nothing written down that I could read. So I was kind of going on, two pretty solid things. One, a show that I loved. So I was like, it's gonna be great because the show's great and the writing on the show is great. And then this really detailed pitch they'd given me about who this person is and how weird he is and how in some ways he's like sort of similar to Misty, but maybe more functional than Misty is. And it was a period of discovery, because when you're working on a TV show that isn't entirely written beforehand, which is largely never the case, there's a little discovery as you go along. There are things that are sort of withheld and information that is doled out to you as you read it, You're not kind of given a book on the character that spells everything out for you. So there were discoveries made along the way, like his wealth was kind of news to me. That was really interesting. It spoke so much to kind of who he is and how he's able to sort of play around with his whims and chase these odd sort of cases because he doesn't have to work. It's just really bizarre and funny. Thank you so much for watching. This has been really fun for me to revisit some of these films in different periods of my life. That's all, folks.